As a company, Bulova are, in my opinion, perhaps the biggest mixed bag of a brand out there. They have some absolute diamonds in their repertoire, but also some complete horror shows. I'm not here to focus on the negatives, but I do think it's worth detailing my previous experience with the brand so you understand my viewpoint. I really love the styling of the Oceanographer, but at 43mm, even with a cushion case, it's simply far too big for my wrist. I tried the Devil Diver, which is a smaller variant at 41mm, but it was still too big and bulky for my tastes. It's a real shame for me because I absolutely love the aesthetic of the newer GMT models in the range, but I already know I wouldn't be happy with the wearing experience. The thing is, it isn't as if I have a particularly small wrist, I just really don't enjoy bulky watches that much. I also hate it when it looks like a watch is wearing you rather than the other way round. In the end, I didn't keep my Devil Diver, but I sold it on with a heavy heart as I did like the looks, build quality, and it helped me form a pretty positive impression of the brand. That's one of the reasons why I wanted to get one back into my collection. And as you might have seen on the channel recently, I've been on a bit of a digital watch binge recently. I couldn't possibly afford the watch I really want in that regard, the Girard-Perregaux Casquette, but the Computron has a similar design language for a fraction of the price. I've not done a keep or sell video in a while, but the premise is quite simple. I'm going to review the model, share my thoughts, and let you know whether I kept it in my collection or sold it on to pastures new. With all that said, let's get into the video. The original Computron released in 1976, and the modern version maintains the extreme angularity of the first design. If you've heard of this watch before, you might have seen it online being referred to as the trapezoid, a quadrilateral with one pair of parallel sides. That isn't really quite accurate when you look at the design, but you can see where the name originated from. It's certainly an unconventional shape for a watch, but it's a case of function over form, with the angled digital display at the bottom meaning you can check the time without having to roll your wrist to do so. The Computron was actually Bulova's first ever digital watch release, and it came during a period of great turmoil for the watch industry, and a period of great change and development for quartz models in particular. While nowhere near as expensive as the very first quartz watch, the Astron from Seiko, and retailing for a fraction of the first digital display watch in the Pulsar from Hamilton, the price point of the Computron of $99 alongside its futuristic design positioned the model at a premium above the cheaper digital models that were emerging towards the end of the 70s. This combination of comparable affordability and a unique aesthetic gave the Computron a niche in the market. One counterpoint I would make to that positivity is about the function over form though. It doesn't really make much sense in my mind to focus the design around a watch on the ease of telling the time, then simultaneously requiring a button press with the other hand in order to be able to see the time actually being displayed. Sure, you might not have to roll your wrist to see the time anymore, but instead you're going to need the use of both hands to do so. I think there is a bit of a logic gap somewhere in the thinking behind that, but at the same time the display is really bright and would probably eat through the battery very quickly. It also avoids the issue of being difficult to read in direct sunlight, and its brightness would probably be quite obnoxious if it was always on. So you can understand the rationale really. The modern release came about in 2019, and while there are modernizations in terms of the materials, movement and build quality, the look has very much stayed intact. One thing that has definitely changed are the colorways available, and here is where I feel I made a crucial mistake with my purchase. The reason I love the Casquette so much is because it looks like a symphony of evil. If Darth Vader had a watch, this would be it. Now, unfortunately, when it came to buying my Computron, the discount on the version that I bought was so huge it swayed me into buying the stainless steel model with the blue display, when really the black model with the red display is what I wanted. It isn't necessarily that there's anything fundamentally wrong with this colorway, but it just isn't as cool as an all black watch with a red display in my view. I really want to highlight this point because there's no point saving money on a purchase if you're ending up buying something you don't actually want. And to be even clearer, I'm saying that mainly to myself for self-help as much as I'm saying it to you as consumer advice. Having said that, there is one model of this watch that I couldn't possibly recommend, and that is one of the two D-Cave models. One is a black model with less detail on the case, a rubber strap, green accents and a green display. While not officially related, with the digital display it's easy to view this as a Matrix inspired version, and I don't mind that vibe. D-Cave itself is a self-proclaimed lifestyle hub focusing on Web 3.0, digital and physical items and wearable technologies. I won't pull any punches, I'm not entirely sure what all of that means, but I'm also pretty sure that I don't want to. The one upside of researching the website for the sake of this video was that I found actually they sell some of these models for over $100 less than Bulova do, though prices do seem to be fluctuating wildly, so I cannot promise this will be the case when you look now. This stripped back piece has a unique feature to it that you can buy it with cryptocurrency. And I mean, sure, why not? It's actually the other special edition that I have more of a problem with anyway. This is far more distinct as it has an exhibition case front showing off the quartz movement. I actually quite like this feature, even if it isn't that aesthetically pleasing, and because I like it, that makes me all the more annoyed about the link to D-Cave. Buying this watch also gives you access to an NFT or non-fungible token. This has a few utilities to it. It allows you to wear a digital version of the watch on your avatar in Decentraland, as well as allowing you to be involved in any future D-Cave NFT drops. Now, I'm not going to try and unpick the world of crypto for you because the video would end up being 10 times as long, and there are other far more knowledgeable people who could do a much better job of explaining it than me. One channel I'd personally recommend is Jawn, a personal favourite of mine, who reviews crypto-based games. One thing I've learnt from his channel is that almost all of them are actually completely dead, and I can easily explain why. As someone who has spent over a third of their entire time alive playing video games, I can tell you that earning something feels infinitely better than buying something. That's no surprise, it's exactly the same in real life. As a long-time Warcraft player, I can still remember the controversy when they started selling mounts and pets for real money. It was just lame, and recently they've had to disable the /spit emoji because people would spam it whenever they saw someone using a paid item. Now, is it really harmful to have a digital version of a watch when you buy a physical one? No, not at all. But just that connection to Web 3.0, NFTs and the Metaverse in the advertising makes me feel a sense of cringe that would really put me off entirely. If you follow that up by telling me that I need to pay more for the pleasure, absolutely no chance. Phew, sorry about that. Back to the basic model that I'm actually reviewing here. There are two buttons on the watch, one that you need to hold in to set the time and the date, and the other that cycles through displaying them. And that's it. As far as digital watches go, the functionality is quite literally as basic as it gets. And I think that could actually catch some people out who are used to a $15 Casio that can do a hell of a lot more. For me, the biggest drawback of the watch is its height on wrist, which sits at almost 14mm at the highest point. If this was a complex mechanical piece with perhaps a GMT movement or something that required extra height, I might forgive that. And I can understand that this is the design language and the dimensions of the original, and there is a reason for the height as it allows for the required angularity. The thing is, I just don't really like watches that sit proudly on wrist. They don't fit under a cuff easily, and the wearing experience is far more noticeable. It's not thick enough to be an issue for most people, and this is a dependable and well-built watch. Ultimately though, it just isn't for me, so this has actually already found itself a new home via eBay. I think in truth, if I wanted an upgraded digital piece, a mid-range G-Shock is likely to be a far better bet, as well as offering more durability and functionality. There's nothing wrong with the Computron, but make no mistake, you're buying it for the retro looks alone really. As ever, thank you for your time. If you've enjoyed what you've seen or found it informative, consider dropping the video a like. and subscribing for more content like this.